Welcome back, everyone. I have my camera on my head and I'm ready to run, so let's go. Unfortunately for me, I broke my Pixel Watch the other day, but maybe I can work on my tan line a little bit. But no, welcome back, everyone. I want to start this video off by making a huge announcement. We finally passed 100 subscribers. Yeah, woohoo! Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in and watching all my videos. It really means a lot. I know it's such a small milestone to some, but honestly, I wasn't sure I'd ever reach this goal, and I'm just happy to be here. Making these videos have really helped me maintain focus and stay motivated while doing all this training for the New York City Marathon. It's giving me a little bit more sense of accountability, knowing that if I don't go for my runs, that I won't have any more footage to show everyone. But it's also allowed me to go to different parts of the city that I've never been before. Even in this video, you'll see I run all the way to Randall's Island, which I've never been before. But again, just one big thank you to everyone on YouTube and TikTok and all my other socials who helped support me in my running/fitness journey. I'm not just running for myself, I'm running for all you too. But I'm not done yet. I want to keep this train going as fast and as far as possible. So let's go on to the next milestone. 200 subscribers, here we come! But for this 100 subscriber milestone video, I wanted to kind of just reintroduce myself, since I never really talked about myself a ton when I started this channel. I kind of talked about myself a little bit, but I really want to start interjecting a lot more of my personality and myself into these videos. That way it's just not just a blank voice talking over some POV running footage that I filmed. Just so you guys know who is actually running all these miles that I'm showing. But really quickly, before I get into that, I want to talk about my most recent run that I did, where I captured this footage that you guys are watching right now. I actually ran all the way along the East River, all the way to Randall's Island. I'd actually never heard of Randall's Island, but when I was driving home from my vacation a couple weeks ago, we were coming from the Bronx to Manhattan, and we passed this bridge, and I was like, oh, what does this bridge take us to? And in more research, I found out that the bridge was one crossable, like you can run across it, but also it took me to a new island that I'd never heard of, Randall's Island. For those who don't know, Randall's Island is right in between Manhattan, the Bronx, and Queens, kind of just in the middle of the East River. This island was originally two islands, Randall's Island and Ward's Island, and then they merged together in the 1930s by landfill. Today, Randall's Island parks offer over 300 acres for recreational sports, including sports fields, playgrounds, and picnic areas. They also have a huge amount of running and biking trails, which I didn't get to explore a ton today, but I do plan to go back there so I can check some of them out. As for the run itself, I felt like I did pretty well on it. I'm going to give it a solid 7 out of 10 on my running performance. I met my mileage goal for my runner app, running 9.6 miles in about an hour and 42 minutes, so my pace was a little bit slower than I was hoping for, with an average pace of 10 minutes and 41 seconds-ish for my pace per mile. Again, since I didn't have my Google Pixel Watch to track all this stuff, I was tracking it via my phone, using the Strava app. I haven't used this Strava app in a really long time, so unfortunately, I don't know 100% how accurate this reading is. I'll test it when I run on a path that I'm more familiar with, so I can kind of see how accurate it is. But it was a very fun run, running along the East River. I will say a difficult part that you guys see later, when I actually get to the bridge, it takes me to Randall's Island. That bridge was actually really tough because it was a lot of uphill, which I didn't know at the time, but in re-looking at it, it should have been obvious to me that it was going to be a lot of uphill. But that's good because I need hills in my training, so that was still a low-key plus. So without further ado, let me reintroduce myself. Hi, my name is Jared, and I live in Manhattan in New York City. I was actually born in Albuquerque, New Mexico, but I moved to Washington State when I was really, really young. I spent most of my adolescent years in Washington State, so I basically say I'm from the West Coast. I went to a very small university where I got my degree in computer science. After college, I moved across the country to Virginia and then eventually here in New York. It had been a dream of mine to live in New York City since I was 10 years old when me and my family visited New York, and I absolutely fell in love with the city. I've always enjoyed playing sports and staying active, not necessarily running, but since running is such a good activity that you can do just about any time of the year and just about anywhere, I kind of always just kept running throughout the years. Not necessarily training for marathons, I would just do short races like 5Ks, sometimes 10Ks, every now and then. This upcoming New York City Marathon won't actually be my first marathon. After I'd graduated high school in 2012, I ran the Seattle Rock and Roll Marathon. It was a goal of a friend of mine to run that marathon, and I figured I'd just join him kind of on a whim. I didn't take the training for that marathon nearly as seriously as I'm taking the training for this marathon. And although I'm happy with the results of my marathon in 2012, I'm really looking forward to trying to beat my time. The time that I finished the Seattle Marathon was about 4 hours and 35 minutes. I think I've stated before on this channel that my goal is to get an under 4 hour marathon, but honestly, as long as I finish this New York City Marathon faster than I finished the Seattle Marathon, I'll be happy. But still, I'm shooting for the stars and trying to finish under 4 hours. So, what are my hobbies outside of running? Well, I really enjoy going to the movies. I also read and collect comic books, although I haven't done that as much recently, but only because I don't have a lot of storage room here in the city in my small New York City apartment. So, I kind of hold back on collecting comic books, but I definitely want to get back into collecting them in the future. But besides that, I'm a huge Seattle Seahawks fan, obviously since I grew up near Seattle and playing football myself. I'm also slowly becoming more of a baseball fan. I used to go to a lot of Mariners games when I lived in Seattle, but now that I live in New York, I go to a lot of Mets games. The tickets are a lot cheaper than going to NFL games, and the commute is super easy from my apartment. And in the city, it's kind of rare to find entertainment that lasts as long as a baseball game for less than 20 bucks. And the last thing you need to know about me is that I have a pet rabbit. She's a 5-year-old lion-head rabbit that I absolutely adore. She's a bit of a stinky bun, but I can't help that cute little face. A funny story about her is that when I originally got her, a person told me that a she was actually a he. And since I didn't know too much about rabbits at the time, I didn't know how to check myself. So I originally named her Brian. And fast forward about 3 years of living with her, I took her to the vet for the first time, and that's when I found out that he was actually a she. But unfortunately, it was too late, and Brian only responded to her name being Brian. So I decided to keep it, and now she is Brian the girl rabbit. She's a completely free roaming rabbit and has access to basically my entire apartment. She lays around everywhere and gets into trouble all the time. But she's fairly clean and she keeps her mess usually around her litter box. So it's not that difficult to maintain. But I can actually talk about my rabbit for days. So instead of boring you guys with rabbit talk, I'm actually going to call it for this video. Thank you again everyone so much for watching and subscribing. If you haven't, please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that little bell. Also, if you want to know more about me or my little rabbit, leave a comment below, or just reach out for me on my other socials. Macho Marathon Man, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and of course here on YouTube. Thanks again everyone for watching. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.